we talk a lot about what's hard about being a woman in this society.
Sure.
What is hard about being a man?
Sure, you want to do this on your show, Faye?
Yes.
A lot of men find it difficult to express their vulnerable side. And I think because I'm an actor, maybe I'm comfortable with it because it's a part of what I do.
How can women be better allies to the men in our lives when they make this journey?
Wow, that's a so busy trying to think how what I can do to change and be better. That is, I've not really thought about that side so much.
We've all heard the story about the background dancer who then became the leading man. But I want to understand from you, when you were, for example, when you were part of the background crew at Tal.
Yeah.
Did you at that point look at the leading actor saying, I'm going to be there one day?
No, I was just nervous, but I hope I don't get that patta wrong.
Yeah.
You know,
Was there ever a moment where you closed the door and just, I want to say wept, but I don't know if you feel that way. I know that in my career, there were moments where I would just, say, excuse me, very politely, go to the ladies, close the door, bang, because you don't want to do it in front of anybody else.
no, that only happened to me when I went through heartbreak.
Oh,
And sometimes that happens while you're making movies. So I've had that happen to me, and one was really bad. It was really bad. Like my makeup guy was like, I just finished your makeup time. Can you just not? I can't help it. I'm destroyed like so. So I've been through those.
yeah. And when Kabir Singh came out, there was a lot of question about that.
Kind of knew when I was giving my previous answer. Just knew something in Faye's eyes. This is where I was going to go next because she was like, hey, I want to talk about that. Okay, let's go.
We're also sort of living in a world where people date on apps.
Yeah.
And they go through something called situationships.
Yeah.
When neither person is committing.
I'm telling you, Faye, when people our age are talking about them, we're just making ourselves look outdated. I'm telling you, don't fall for this trap. It all makes sense, yaar. Of course, hota hai.
No.
Totally, हमारे time पे same था.
When you've had a really tough day on set as an actor doing what you do, what do you have to tell yourself to come back the next day?
Like in what way tough?
You felt like you just didn't get it. You just weren't able to nail it.
Hasn't happened in a while. I'm sorry, I'll be wait. I can't.
It's a show about failure. Shahid Kapoor, thank you for coming in to spend some time with me.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
21 years in cinema. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Massive. I know that you've not publicly made a big deal about it, but it's a big deal.
My team kept telling me when I hit 20 years that
Yeah.
let's talk about it. And I was like, let's not talk about it.
Seems self-indulgent.
No, it also makes me feel a bit old. I was like, I don't feel like I'm some veteran. And, if you enter the room, there's that 20 years carrying, walking in with you and stuff like that. You just want chill about it. But yeah, it's been 21 years. And I mean, I'm very proud of the fact that I've been doing this for 21 years. And also asking myself, like, have I been doing the same thing for 21 years? Or am I moving forward? Like, but it's been a great journey. And I mean, it's been like a dream for me. So I'm very, very happy.
What was the answer to that question when you asked yourself, have you been moving forward?
Different days, different answers, but yeah, I think a lot has happened, life has happened and creative flow has happened. I think learning to evolve and change. And I think life reminds you every now and again that you're not there yet. Every time I think like, I think I'm there. Like, like you want to reach a place where you feel like, okay, now I've found a balance. And now it just needs to stay like this. And then, and I think you spend that time, and then after some time, life reminds you that it's not about staying where you are. It's about constantly moving, and when you're moving, you're going to be going through spaces that you haven't been through, and that's going to be uncomfortable. In fact, if you're extremely comfortable for a long period of time, you're probably not growing.
So I wanted to ask you that because you seemed like someone who fights comfort. There's a theory that comfort leads to complacency.
Yeah.
And it's the enemy of ambition. That if you're too comfortable, you're not pushing yourself hard enough. You're not learning. You're not sort of coming literally out of your comfort zone. Do you believe that? Or do you believe that, comfort's good. We've worked very hard. Comfort is good.
I have a slightly spiritual take on that.
Yeah, please.
And it's like, I feel like my theory, or the theory that I resonate with, is that there is the physical mind, which is meant to help you do everything that you're supposed to do. And then there is the higher conscious mind, which is connected to the universe, which is, your consciousness, so to say. Because it's like how you say that is conscious, that I am conscious, is actually who I am. We are conscious of the fact that we are conscious, right? So there is a higher aspect to our consciousness. And then there is that immediate aspect to our consciousness, right? So I just feel that being comfortable there is good, but being comfortable here is probably not good.
Over a 20-year career, and this is, and I've said this multiple times, this is the anti-podcast. This is the podcast about failure. This is the podcast where I invite really successful people and ask them about failure. But have you ever faced failure in your career?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, you're always wondering where you got it right. Because if it's not just the fine balance of everything, it's going to be called a failure. Because when the stakes are high, you need to deliver according to expectations. So if you underperform, it is considered failure. For somebody else who might be newer, or who might not have so much riding on them, or who might not be touted as somebody who's, like you said, very successful, so to say, the stakes would be much lower, right? So the definition of failure for them would not be so high. So I think failure again is how other people see it.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you that. So as an actor, is it, do you sort of judge yourself per shot where you've like, okay, I got that.
I do.
That was good. I know I did well. Or is it box office and the reviews, and is that like the big is that the big report card? Or do you go, today I did an excellent job, or on this film I did an excellent job?
It's both. You can't keep saying that I'm just about the craft. And I think it would be a very shallow journey to say I'm just about the money. I would not be able to choose one or the two. If I had to choose one for self-expression, I would choose performance. But I want an audience. I mean, we all want an audience. Why do we sleep in this old torn t-shirt? At least I do. And then when we step out, why do we wear this nice new t-shirt? Because you want to show people a certain aspect of yourself. So even as human beings, we want an audience. So as an artist, I definitely want an audience. And the more people that see my work, the happier I am. There's no doubt about that. But will I compromise my aesthetic, my choices, my understanding of cinema and acting because something that might be, in contrast, just like shallower or whatever, is doing really well? So let's just do that. I don't know if I'd do that. I would always want to find something where I can really sink myself in as an artist. Sometimes it happens at a deeper level, and sometimes you can do it at a funner level. But there has to be that creative satisfaction. But if there's no audience, I would not be happy. I would be sad.
So we've all heard the story about the background dancer who then became the leading man. But I want to understand from you, when you were, for example, when you were part of the background crew at Tal.
Yeah.
Did you at that point look at the leading actor saying, I'm going to be there one day?
No, I was just nervous. But I hope I don't get that patta wrong.
Yeah.
That was the only thing I was focusing on at that time. I didn't even know if I'm going to be an actor at that time. But I had kind of opened up to expressing myself creatively. And it started with me being a dancer, and I was actually a shy kid. So I actually gained confidence in that area of being able to perform or do anything in front of anybody for their reaction, so to say. So that entire thing started for me there, yeah.
And when you walked onto your first set as the leading man,
yeah,
what was that like? When you had your own vanity van and you're the hero. Hero kaun hai is picture ka?
I was sharing my van, and I was actually, when we went out, I remember my first film was Ishq Vishq, and we went out for a schedule in South Africa. So we went to Cape Town, right? And we stayed in this hotel, which I thought was really good. And I shared the room with the the first assistant, the first AD. His name was Kiptu. I think he'd rather I say he was the associate director. And me and him used to share a room, and I was the hero, and he was obviously in the direction department. So he'd probably get up like an hour and a half before me. And I'd be like, dude, I need that 1 hour of sleep. Can you not be making noise? Because we were sharing a bathroom. We were sharing, he had our own beds, but it was a really small little room. And then 2 years later, I went to the same place, and then they told me that, this is where the unit stays. The actors stay in better hotels. But, that's how I started, But the fact that we went abroad and we shot there in itself was amazing, So walking onto the set of my first film, I didn't really feel like a star. It was a film full of newcomers. And most of the others were more established than I was. And I would say they were far more professionally established as actors than I was. I had just been doing auditions and I had done a few ads and a few music videos, but I was not somebody who had done, talkie scenes extensively or been a part of a film as such, right? So for me, that whole thing was very daunting, and I also knew it's probably my only shot. I had no, I had no such feeling that I'm gonna get like 10 opportunities to do this, because when you come that route where you're getting it on merit for your work and for your performance, and there's nothing else backing you or behind you, you're waiting for that one shot, and you might never get that one shot. And when you get that one shot, this is it. I've waited all my time for this, and this is it. If I don't get it right here, I'm
if I blow it here, then
I'm done. Yeah, I'm done. I very clearly knew that. So there was a lot of I used to force my mom to hang around on the set because she was an established actor, And I was like, Mom, just hang. I don't know what I'm doing in front of the camera. I know the director's there, but I just want somebody I am comfortable with to just give me something.
Tell you the truth.
Just after the shot would get cut, and she actually even told me a couple of times, she's like, after the shot gets cut, Shahid, look at the director first and then look at me, But Ken was just extremely kind and extremely loving. Ken Ghosh, who directed the film, and he kind of understood, and he really let Mom hang around. I think maybe he also realized that maybe her being around gives me enough confidence, and he needs a confident guy in front of the camera. So it's been a journey. It's been a journey of gaining confidence, of learning how to do things while you're already doing them, of wondering how it's going to come out, of getting it wrong very often, and cringing at your own work sometimes, and sometimes knowing this isn't going to go right, but you still have to be there and do it. And I started very young. I was 21 when I started, and 21, 20 years back, 22 years back now, is much younger than 21 today.
True.
You know what I mean?
True.
So,
was there ever a moment where you closed the door and just, I want to say wept, but I don't know if you feel that way. I know that in my career, there were moments where I would just, say, excuse me, very politely, go to the ladies, close the door, bang, because you don't want to do it in front of anybody else.
no, that only happened to me when I went through heartbreak.
Oh,
And sometimes that happens while you're making movies. So I've had that happen to me, and one was really bad. It was really bad. Like my makeup guy was like, I just finished your makeup time. Can you just not? I can't help it. I'm destroyed, so, So I've been through those, but not for work.
we talk a lot about what's hard about being a woman in this society.
Sure.
What is hard about being a man?
Sure, you want to do this on your show, Faye?
Yes. Go for it.
No, I mean, I guess, Indian men especially have been kind of told from a very young age that you have to be the provider, that you have to protect, that you have to be the man in the family. And I think is there in men where you're always worried that, whatever is whatever I love, I must protect it. And sometimes that can put a lot of pressure on you, because sometimes you just want to relax and be like, okay, yaar, I don't have to keep worrying about everything and everybody all the time, and I can just maybe be vulnerable and let somebody else protect me. Why can't we flip roles sometimes? You can feel like that, and it's fair to feel like that because eventually everybody's human.
Yeah.
We feel all kinds of emotions. A lot of men find it difficult to express their vulnerable side, and I think because I'm an actor, maybe I'm comfortable with it because it's a part of what I do. I have to be able to get to that place which is vulnerable and express it. And when you're an actor, you also understand that vulnerability is extremely attractive. If you're an intelligent actor, you understand that aggression cannot attract people the way vulnerability does. So you understand the beauty of vulnerability because it's only human to be vulnerable. So as a man, you should be okay with it. You should not always have to.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was having a conversation with someone who works in mental health who said, there's a men's mental health day coming up. Can we do something together? And I said, hang on, what do you mean? What is that? What does that mean? And she said, we need to encourage men to address their mental health and to talk about what worries them and talk about the ways on them in order to be able to have functioning normal lives, because there's no space, like we said.
Every society has a stereotype.
Yeah.
Like I think women want to break the stereotype that has been there for the longest period of time. You can see this generation of women are they're like, that ain't, like, this is it. This is done. Like, this is not who we are. Like, don't tell us how to be, right? I'm sure to some degree that applies to men as well. Because if one gender is stereotyped, by virtue of whatever else is left, they're also stereotyped. But I think maybe it's happened the other way, that this guy has got stereotyped like this and therefore the women have to take this place, So I think it's an interactive kind of situation which exists in society. If correction is happening on one side, I think this guy also needs to a little bit shake it off and kind of be open to changing and accepting the new uh, the new version of maybe what a man should be, although I'm not ready to comment on it. But gee, we all have everything in us now. We have to just, it's what we focus on and it's what we build on that defines our self-image.
Do you feel that, even as men become more comfortable with the different aspects of their personality, which is that it's okay for me to feel down, it's okay for me to feel helpless, it's okay for me to cry. Are we making enough room in families and in societies and among friends, social circles for that vulnerability from men?
See, it's childhood. I think everything, whatever little I've understood of, psychology or human behavior in my own journey, is that everything goes back to your childhood. The adult version of you is able to logically resolve your issues. But it's the child who did not have the capability, the analytical capability, or the brain had not developed to that point where you had the devices you need to be able to fix yourself, so to say. That child has still issues. And you as an adult need to go back to the child you and fix his issues. And once those issues get fixed, then things will change dramatically, So I think like it is what you were as a kid when you were growing up, it's what you were surrounded by, the voices that you heard, this is how it should be and that is how it should be, whatever, whatever it is that you heard, I think that is what subliminally is a preset of who you expect yourself to be. Let's not even say men and women, let's just say who you expect yourself to be. And then you have to reach a stage where you can drop that expectation and just choose to be who you want to be. And that is the journey I think men and women in general, I think, are taking. Like I can see that's happening right now. We've come to that time in life where everybody is ready to question the stereotype. And I think that is very good.
Yeah.
I think that's great, whether it's men or women.
How can women be better allies to the men in our lives when they make this journey?
Wow, that's so busy trying to think what I can do to change and be better. I've not really thought about that side so much. I think men and women are fundamentally different. And I feel if you respect and appreciate your partner, let's say man and woman, let's say husband and wife, then you should have the ability to trust that they have reasons that you might not understand to be doing what they're doing or to be being how they're being. And I think if you make them feel like they're seen, okay, I think that will open the channel to this kind of disconnect. It's almost like, like men and women are always trying to like, मेरे को समझ क्यों नहीं आता? तो, यार मेरे को समझ क्यों नहीं आता? It's always like that. You might not need to understand, but you should just accept. So if a woman is saying, I don't want to be treated like this and I don't want to be seen like that, and this is not who I am, you have to accept that.
Mm.
And probably the same for a man. If he's strongly telling a woman that, listen, this is not who I want to be, then don't try and make him that.
You've talked about fighting really hard or working really hard for anything you have, and you've taken the outsider's route, even though both of your parents.
Which is what most people don't get. Because I'm still, how to explain this dynamic to
And I've watched, like, I did a bunch of research on you, and it says you chose the outsider's route. Did you choose this? Was that the only route available?
What was the other route available to me? Like, I knew my dad and we had a good equation, but I was with my mother since I was 3. When Ishan was born, when I was, I think, 14 and a half or something, mom stopped working because she had to take care of him. And she was, I think, 35 or 36 when Ishan was born. So she was also at an age where it was, it's not easy having a child at 35, 36. And being a working woman and having a son who's 14 years old and being in Bombay, and it was her second marriage. So there was a lot happening with her at that time, So it wasn't like she could make a call and get me work. She was herself trying to get back to work. And it wasn't easy because when you're 37, 38 years old, trying to get back to acting, it's not easy, because like people just forget you like that, that's just how it is, and so she was struggling to balance all those things. And we were living in rented houses, and I didn't have a relationship with my father where where I would allow myself to ask him. I didn't feel like that. Having said that, I have a great relationship with him, but I didn't want to ask.
Yeah.
That was not how I wanted to do it. And he was always there for advice and guidance, yes, but I want to do it on my own. I was very proud like that. So this was the only route for me.
Yeah.
It's not like I had some route, but I didn't take it. I always look at it and I feel like, I don't know how it happened, because like there were a lot of random opportunities that popped up for me. I mean, me being a part of Shamak's group happened because Shamak happened to drop in one of the classes. And he saw me dancing and he felt I was really good. And then he decided to pick me up and put me in another batch. And because of that, when the whole class ends, there was this performance, and that performance happened, and he gave me the best dancer in the entire city. And then he reached out and said that, I really like you as a dancer. Would you want to be a part of my dance company? And then I was like, okay, I thought these guys were just teachers. And then you realize, okay, they have a dance company. They travel the country and the world and they do shows and they are professional dancers. I didn't even know something like that existed. I just knew like Shamak ki dance classes hoti hai, And then suddenly I was pulled into that and I started doing it because I really love it. And thankfully, my mother, being a classical dancer, understood and give respect to that craft of dancing, so to say. Otherwise, somebody could be like, kya kar rahe ho, tum dance class kyun kar rahe ho? Do something more substantial. People can see it like that, right? But she was really happy because she knew I loved dancing and I was very shy. So she was really happy to see that I'm doing something and excelling at something and being appreciated in a space. So it was almost like I was an extension of her, right? Because she also started dancing very early in life. And I did that.
You mentioning that, she used to dress you up in a little kurta and put you right in front of the stage when she danced. So you've seen her perform.
I grew up like that.
Yeah, that was part of your.
That was a huge part of my upbringing, her and Indian classical Kathak dance. And I've sat in Pandit Birju Maharaj's lap and Zakir Hussain Saab has literally put his hand on Rovecha, you want to chill here and just hang here. And all that has happened with me when I was a kid, But like I was saying, as I started dancing with Shamak, suddenly people started noticing me. Like when you ask me, what were you doing when you're putting that little thing? That's because I was a dancer with Shamak. That's the first time maybe people noticed me, I was just a dancer. And then maybe because they noticed me and they thought, okay, maybe he can do something else also, I started getting a few ads. And then I started getting a few music videos. And then suddenly I was like, okay, maybe I have some equity here, and then I want to do a photo shoot and then I didn't have money to do it. And then somehow I managed to do it. And then I dropped the pictures at people's places and I did over 200 auditions and then I got picked up. So it all started like that, very randomly. Even the first audition I gave actually is a friend of mine was doing that audition. And There's this guy called Sumer who works for Prahlad Kakkad, and he just walked out and he was like, "Are you here for the audition?" I said, "No, I'm just dropping a friend." He was like, "I like your face. Come inside, do an audition." That's how I got my first break. So it was.
I'm going to digress a little bit, but tell me about Pandit Birju Maharaj, because I'm such a fan. Do you remember?
I remember him very well. He would love watching Jackie Chan movies.
Really?
Love. And he would love to have some pan.
Yes.
And he would watch those movies like a child. And he would be sitting in his room, and I remember mom would come and, she would touch his feet and we should proceed to class. And he would just say, "You come and sit here with me." And he'd put me on his lap and he'd watch Jackie Chan movies. So that's one extremely strong memory of his that I have. He was, these people are just, they're genius. It's like music is in their system. Tal is in their body. Rhythm is in their body. So, I mean, they can create just like that. So it's just, he was an absolute genius and an extremely soft, extremely warm, almost a kind of grandfatherly figure for me, because I was like out of 5 or 6, and I just used to get to sit around there and watch him perform. And my mom was a spectacular dancer, but he was just at a whole other level. You know what I mean? So now when I look at my mom, I'm like, I'm not even 5% of what you do. But then she would say that she's not 5% of what he would do. So he was just like somewhere else.
That's amazing. So effectively, you were raised by artists. Around artists.
My maternal grandfather, who I was very close to, was a journalist. We used to stay.
Young for the team.
We used to stay in Press Enclave in Delhi, in Saket. I don't know if you know where that is, but that whole community is largely journalists. And he used to work for a magazine called Sputnik. And he was very good because he knew Russian and he knew Urdu. So he would translate. That was his one of his kind of special skills. And he was one of those, he would wear those check blazers and those nice polo hats and those big glasses. And he would always be sharing these gems about life and philosophy. And he was a very, very learned, very, very special man. And I think a lot of my childhood was shaped by the warmth that he gave me, the security that he gave me, and the words that he shared with me, and the wisdom that he, subtly would always pass on to me. And just a lot of love. He was a very loving man.
So, I mean, since your mom was an artist and you're an artist, is there a fundamental sort of artist life hack that you've learned from her that you find really useful in dealing with your career?
You just have to put in the work.
Yes.
Brilliance is all practice. I just saw her work so hard. I mean, physical work, doing tatkar, that kind of footwork for like 4 hours, 5 hours. I would just be sitting there and I'd be like, how are they doing it? They were just so into what they were doing. They didn't even know from an external standpoint how physically impossible it seemed what she was doing. So that was something that really inspired me. Like she could do it all day. I was like, if you want to do something, you love something, you love it that much. Otherwise you don't deserve to be there. Like, let somebody else go there who loves it. So that, just passion for what you do and just being ready to work for it. And not even like, like smiling through it, like enjoying it.
Yeah.
And just like being happy to be doing it, which I think is missing these days. I mean, people have so many conditions before they want to do what they want to do. I'm like, stop putting conditions. Like, you're getting the opportunity to do it, and if it's not something that's exciting enough, then go somewhere else. Don't waste your time and don't waste their time. Like, don't be here.
What is the actor's equivalent of 4 hours of footwork for a Kathak dancer? What is your riyaz that you do every day?
So I'm also a dancer. I also dance. I was for a long period of time. I always want to believe that I am a dancer first. And I always see dancing is my first love and acting is my, my true love. That's how I would say it. Because when I got to acting, I realized, I think maybe I love this even more.
Love this even more.
Yeah. It's, it's very difficult to define it, but I think it takes up your being. It requires all of you. if you really want to do it, because it's a deep expression of who you are and what you see around you. That's essentially what acting is. And if you do it from a truthful place, and if you are a true student of cinema, you will always want to find something more every day, So I try to do that.
Find something more from
About life,
about life.
about humanity, about behavior, about emotions, about complexities. It's never about right and wrong. Let the audience judge. I should be able to make you understand who I am. And that is an actor's job. His job is to be able to represent and perform in a manner that you can understand a person completely. Because that's what the study of human behavior should be, right? You should be able to understand in a very kind of like this is life manner. Okay, ये होता है. ऐसा लोग करते हैं.
Yeah.
And then you decide whether it's right, whether it's wrong, whether it's something that inspires you or it's something that you never want to do. And that's what cinema can do for you, right? It can help you reflect on society and the various aspects of society. I think cinema is at its worst when it's not really addressing things. You have to address everything that's there and let people and, believe that the audience is intelligent. I don't think the audience is stupid. I think they're very intelligent. So you have to give them that respect.
Since you brought it up, there's one theory that cinema reflects and addresses society and what's happening in society. The other theory is that cinema tells stories of, Hindi specifically gets accused of this, and people will be influenced and they will imitate and they will, want to be that hero. And when Kabir Singh came out, there was a lot of question about that.
I kind of knew when I was giving my previous answer. Just knew something in Faye's eyes. This is where I was going to go next because she was like, hey, I want to talk about that. Okay, let's go.
So, so I want to know which one you believe. Do you believe that, and if we take that film particularly, that it was reflecting what was already in society? Or do you think that cinema has the power to lead society down a particular path?
Well, let me say this, that if somebody saw Kabir Singh and said, I never want to know somebody like Kabir, I'd be absolutely fine with that.
But if someone saw it and said that, oh, okay, I didn't know that you could be this way and this is what true love is supposed to be. And if I should never love a girl, then...
I've never met somebody who's told me, I started behaving like this. I remember there was a critique who had critiqued Kabir and there was a comment under his interview which I saw. And then I read the comments because I was curious to know exactly what everybody is feeling, right? Said, you're absolutely right. I saw Finding Nemo yesterday and now I'm a fish.
No, but okay, so let me now be devil's advocate, sure, right? We grew up under the umbrella of Hindi films. How many of us have not chewed on a toothpick because Amitabh Bachchan did it? Sure about it. And so there's some portion of the hero that you want to be, that you see yourself in. And I think it would be naive to say that's the equivalent of being a fish because I was.
Yeah, but that's why there is certification.
So much bigger than that.
But there is certification for that purpose, right? I mean, you certify films so that you define what age bracket should watch it. And then when it is meant for adults, then you treat adults as adults. Like, who am I to decide what they should and shouldn't watch? My job as an actor is to do the best that I can to help them understand who this character is and why he is behaving the way that he is. It's not my job to judge that character. I'm putting myself on a pedestal by deciding for you what you should and shouldn't watch. Who am I to decide that? Who am I to decide that you will get influenced positively or negatively by that character? I cannot do that, because then I'm putting myself above you. My role as an artist is to represent and show life. What you take from it is really up to you. And you cannot blame it on the artist. I don't think that's right. Because my role is to reflect life and all things happen in life. Good characters, bad characters, gray characters. If I was standing here defending my character saying he's the nicest guy, what are you talking about? This is exactly how he should be. I mean, there are so many artists who play these very perfect characters, but they do the absolute opposite in their real life. And for me, that is a choice that I would want to feel extremely responsible about because, well, it begins with my children and my family. I mean, I don't want them to grow up seeing me as the kind of person who, is doing all the wrong things, If they see me as a person, as a father, as a husband, as a son, if I am doing those things right, And who I am as an artist is a completely different aspect of my personality, and it's not really about who I am. It's about who we all can be, who we all choose to be, and what we want to be. And your learning has to be from that, right? I mean, you cannot make films that are never addressing what's happening in life. I don't think a lot of things that Kabir did was acceptable at all. Like, I would not accept a guy like that. But do guys like that exist? Do girls like that fall in love with guys like that? Yes, they do. So why can't we make a movie about it? You walk away, you decide what you like, what you don't like. That's really up to you as an audience.
Well said. Fair enough. You're also in an industry where measures of success are multifold,
Yes.
right? Box office, what parties you get invited to, whether they consider you A-lister or not A-lister, what you get paid compared to what other people get paid, stuff like that. Do you allow that sound to cover into your space? Does any of it matter to you? Which part of it matters?
Yeah, when you're at an award function and they decide who should be the finale according to how big a star they are, or which group of people stand together at which party and why. I was always an outsider, so I was always an outsider. I kind of, I still somehow completely don't feel like I'm on the inside because I think I'm a bit of a unique specimen or whatever. I have various facets to my personality, and I never see myself as a very typical prototype. I feel like I'm a bit of a concoction. So most people don't understand also. Like, they can't understand exactly who I am immediately. Like, people who know me over a period of time really know me. Because I think there's many aspects to me. And so I've always felt like an outsider. And when you're like an outsider, the first thing that you actually want is just acceptance.
Yeah.
And when you come from a very middle class background, I didn't have that kind of exposure, say, to fashion or to makeup artists or to producers and directors and this and that and journalists and editors. At that time were a really big deal. I knew nothing about nothing. I just came in and my first film just did really well, and I was right in the middle of it. So I think I shut myself down for some time. Like, I was just like, I'm just gonna go work. Like, that was my first reaction. And I think sometimes still I react like that. I'm just but now I'm not like, I'm just gonna go work. I'm just like, I'm just gonna work. Like, it's changed it to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So which I think is great because I'm here for the work.
Because I get the sense that through your career, you've always ring-fenced your personal space, saying that,
Very
"Okay, this
protective.
is the work stuff, and I'm happy to be here, but now I'm going home." Are you like that now?
I felt I was a bit in the, when you're in a bit of a jungle and you have to create a bit of a ring fencing to avoid the wild animals from coming in, kind of,
Yeah.
so that's just like a analogy, but that's how
Very
life.
good analogy.
But that's how kind of life is.
Does he we can name each animal?
No, I mean, it's not just about the film fraternity, right? I mean, there are circumstances, there are situations where, um, I mean, if you're going through a lot, you can either go towards meditation or towards drugs, right?
Yeah.
It's a choice right in front of you. So how you ring fence yourself to choose to be who you want to be, is also something that you have to decide in life, right? The people that you hang with will influence you. Um, the weaknesses that you have, which will draw you in certain directions, will pull you in a certain direction. So you have to decide who you want to be. I didn't come from a very protected home where everything is like that. Like, I think my children are far more protected than I was. And I feel the need to be protective towards them because I saw a lot in life. You know what I mean? Um, um, so yeah, I think ring fencing is very important. But it's like you have to have that, like, that door has to open and shut, right? You have to make a door. You have to have this ring fencing, but there has to be a nice door. And in the beginning, it's like this big shutter and you just shut it down, right? But slowly you got to turn it into this door which will open and close. And
So your kids, I know that you keep them private, but your wife is now active on social media. She's taken on some projects. She's got some brands. She's at the parties. Are you protective in the sense that you're like, hey, listen?
she's more protective of me.
She is? Okay.
Because she's much more of a social creature than I.
Than you are.
So she's kind of recognized that, yaar, actor ye hai, lekin socially मैं ज़्यादा comfortable हूँ, She got more comfortable in the parties I'd been attending for years, even before I got comfortable in there. I was like, she's already more comfortable than I. What's going on? And when we got married, I thought that I'm gonna have to really protect her because she's this 20-year-old girl who's just coming from Delhi, and this is the big bad world of movies and glamour, and everybody's so judgy. She's this really strong person. She's solid. And comes from a very strong family and very self-assured, extremely intelligent, stubborn, very stubborn, which is required. You should be stubborn because that's how you protect yourself. And then you should decide that, okay, this decision of mine was wrong. And then you make that change. But when other people can influence you about who you are more than what you can tell yourself, then you have no control. Then you're just reacting to what people are telling you. You need to be strong about yourself, and hold on to who you are. She has that. It's one of her strongest qualities.
What does wealth mean to you as a sign of success?
I think abundance is very important. Wealth is one of the ways in which the abundance of the universe can be seen in your life by others or by yourself. But I think, wealth is a lot of things. I think family is wealth. I think having some strong kind of faith is wealth. I think having the right balance of money and time is wealth. If you give all your time away for all the money in the world, it's not worth it. So for me, if you're just talking about money, we can talk just about money, but I guess that's what you were asking, right?
No, so again, when we look at success as human beings, there are different ways to measure it. Absolutely. For some people, it could just be pure wealth and money. And my bank account looks like it.
Yeah.
How much more I can just inflate.
And in this world, that's pretty much how you feel you need to be.
Yes.
Because that's how you're treated most of the time.
Because, we live in a world actually which is at this point idealizing billionaires.
Yeah.
The richer, the better.
Yeah.
The richer, the smarter. The richer, the more influential. So, and I think that that's a spectrum that we all peg ourselves on. We do need money to survive and to be comfortable and provide for your families. But how much of it is success, especially when you don't come from money?
Yeah. What are you looking for through that money? Are you looking to feel secure? To feel like I'm okay, like I can get through my life, I can take care of the people who matter. I have a little for a rainy day, my children will be fine. Then I think that's absolutely legit. If you want to be doing well in life, I have some luxuries and life's good, that's also fine. But when money is above everything else, and that becomes your priority, then that's very high up there. That's what I feel. Should never be a priority. It should be very important, should not be a priority.
What for you is the priority?
Wow, good question. To choose one priority would be, honestly, it would be, it would be who I become at the end of my time. It might be a little selfish to say because, you want to say my priority is my wife, my children, my parents. But eventually, everybody's priority should be who you become at the end of this journey because that's all you take with you. Everything else just is. I think that's what you get up to every day. You have to be happy with who you are. You have to be fulfilled with where you are. You have to feel like your journey has been worth it. You have to kind of look back and say, I did some good stuff. People like me. I like me. I think I should like me when I'm done. I should be happy. That's very important.
Is that for you largely about your opinion of yourself, or would you value the opinion that other people have of you, like the memories that your children have, the memories that your wife has when you're done? Is that?
I think eventually that's what most people at that age reflect upon. It's not just about what they think about themselves, but what others think of them and the experiences that they had and the memories. It's like I was watching this really cool little video on this restaurateur was talking about the difference between service and hospitality. And he said service is when you do what you have been asked to do. Like if I order for food, it's the service of providing the food. And he said hospitality is how I make you feel while I'm providing you the service. And he said, you could be the best at service in the world, but somebody will come in who will be better at it than you in maybe a 5-10 year window. But the hospitality that you provide somebody is the relationship. That is what they remember of you. And nobody can come in and immediately replace that relationship. So I think your hospitality as a human being is what people remember at the end of your life. And I think that's something that I haven't focused on for a long period in my life because I was so busy getting good at the service. And now I want to really work on the hospitality aspect of me as a person, with family, with friends, in work, everywhere. I want people to have a smile on their face, hopefully. It's not going to be easy with me. I'm a tough guy, but I'm going to try.
When you've had a really tough day on set as an actor doing what you do, what do you have to tell yourself to come back the next day?
Like, tough in the way of
Tough
like
in what-
demanding as an actor? Because for me, those are not tough days. Those are like the best days.
No.
Very tired, but they're the best
Yeah.
days. And then there are days which are tough because what? Like, in what way tough?
You felt like you just didn't get it. You just weren't able to nail it.
Hasn't happened in a while. I'm sorry, I'll be wait. I can't.
It's a show about failure.
No, but it hasn't happened in a while that I've left a set feeling like we didn't get it. You finish it. You go through it and you finish it. You don't leave it. You can't leave it. I mean, that's not acceptable.
Okay.
But there are days when it's easy, and then there are days where it's very challenging, and you're really trying to find it. But I think those are the days when you actually grow. Because when it's coming naturally, it's like they say, okay, when you get everything right, when everything's a success, like what do you learn from it?
Yeah.
But like when there is failure, it teaches you something. So in that aspect, definitely, I think when you're on a film set and like you're not being able to get it, it's a little embarrassing, and sometimes you feel a bit lost because you're like, this is not something I can just like. It's not like a matchstick that I'll just light it. Like it has to come. Then the next best option is that you fake it really well. But then if you're a really good actor, most people around will think that you didn't fake it, but you will know that you faked it. And then you have to live with that.
Yeah.
So for me, that is very difficult. Because for me, being on set every day is a privilege, and it has to come from within. If it doesn't come from within, then you haven't been truthful. If you haven't been truthful, then it's not okay. So I have all those issues. So there are days when that happens, and then you need the support of sometimes your co-actor or your director or the cameraman to maybe do it in portions, or maybe give you some time off so you can come back and do it. Yeah.
The longevity of a 20-year and, God willing, 50-year career for you, it takes a certain amount of emotional stamina.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
On and off the camera, both.
On and off the camera. It's also because it's a very loud profession that you're in, because the winds are really loud. And then
I don't like loud, actually.
Yeah,
that's the one aspect of my profession
that you don't like.
And about certain social trends that my grandfather told me, beta, when you're upset, go for a walk.
Yeah.
Figure it out and come back. And then BBM started, where you could put on your status, having a terrible day. You're basically announcing to the whole world that you're having a bad day. Why? What do you, and now it's gone to another whole new level. I'm talking about BBM, that's when it started, right? When you had, like, when your status could be put on your, whatever, like your, right next to your name and your picture, your display picture. And that's when it started, where society just flipped, I think there is something good in that, which is that you should be able to feel like you can connect. But so across the board, like connect with 3 people. You want to connect with everybody who's on your WhatsApp or who's on your BBM. That's a bit like, it's a bit too much, I feel, right? So I am always the kind of person who feels that loud is not necessarily good.
So how do you find that between the really loud highs and the really like...
I think the failures are louder than the success.
Yeah.
So that I feel that, when you fail, everybody really, really lets you know you failed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for sure. They do. Because you're defined by your success. Because there are no rules to the game. It's not like cricket where this is how you should play the cover drive. This is the technique. You get the technique right, it goes for a 4. It's not like that. Films are unpredictable. There are no rules to the game. So the only thing that people are looking at is success.
How do you find that balance? in self-preservation because you need the stamina.
Balance is a daily exercise. Balance is not something, it's not a destination. You get to it and now you'll have balance your whole life. It doesn't work like that. Balance is daily exercise, and life provides you the opportunity to exercise daily.
Nice bumper sticker. Yeah.
You try it because life will always try and throw you off, off balance. And that's how you
No, but what is
hone the craft of having balance.
what do you do particularly? Like, is it because you're able?
I have a strong spiritual leaning, so I am into meditation. I am a Radha Swami. I have a strong spiritual path that I follow. I have a very kind of strong-minded wife who shakes me out of self-pity very often. So that works in my favor a lot. I can disconnect from things and enjoy my time with family. So that's something that really helps me with, getting myself out of that headspace. I'm also somebody who would love for the next opportunity to prove everybody wrong. Like that's very much in my personality. So I use all that. Actually, when you fail, you have all these strong feelings, and those strong feelings are intense, and intensity is something you should always try and find in life, because sometimes intensity is very important, momentum is very important. You have to move, but you have to move with a certain pace and with a certain, it's like when something comes to a boil. वो जो चाय जब बॉईल हो रही होती है ना, फटाक से नीचे करना पड़ता है, नीचे बाहर गिर जाती है. Failure gives you that. Success doesn't give you that. Success makes you heady. It's a nice high. But failure gives you that boil. And I think the best of you is when, that all that stuff is inside you. Because you're like, it's like this burning thing that needs to come out, and it makes impact. As an actor, that always makes impact. So I think failure can
to prove.
Yeah, I think failure, like for me, it's like, okay, let's go, man, let's do this again. Because I don't doubt the fact that I know what I'm doing. And I think that's very important. You should know who you are in the moment you fail. If you use that to become better, it actually helps you become better, because eventually, if you are who you are, you will get it right more often than not. It's inevitable.
If you're comfortable talking about it, what is your fundamental spiritual philosophy? What's that one belief, that's basing it most of this on?
Well, it's a very broad thing. So I believe in meditation, and I feel that we are on a physical plane. We are a spiritual being having a physical experience. And I don't think that like energy, which never gets created or destroyed, it just changes from one form to another. Life is like that. It's never created or destroyed. It just changes form. We are eternal beings, and we are a drop in the ocean. We are a part of the whole. And the fundamental purpose of human life is to find yourself, which people say, like, finding God, find yourself before you find God, whatever. But if you found yourself, you've probably found God, because, that's where we come from and that's where we're meant to go back to.
How does one know when you found yourself?
You know when you know. It's like, how do you know this is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with? You just know when you know. How do you know, like, this is the most love I ever felt for someone? Like, you feel it, right? Something tells you, so when you know. And there is no logic to it. It's not logic, because logic is a function of the mind. So there is the mind, there is the heart, and then there is the soul, right? We function at all these levels. We have an analytical aspect to our personality, we have a physical aspect to our personality, and we have a spiritual aspect to our personality. So I think some things are just like your conscious, that is conscious, it feels it, and it cannot be explained or analyzed. It's just you feel it. So it's very personal. I can't explain it, but I feel it, and it's true to me, and everybody's truth has to be there.
I know that in a lot of the interviews that you've given, you've talked about your marriage to Mira and what it means, the insulation it provides you as you go through life. We're also sort of living in a world where people date on apps. And they go through something called situationships. When neither person is committing.
I'm telling you, Faye, when people our age are talking about them, we're just making ourselves look outdated. I'm telling you, don't fall for this trap. It all makes sense, yaar. Of course hota hai.
No.
Totally, हमारे time पे same था.
The arranged marriage is a concept that is...
It's an app only, na? Look at it like an app.
Almost obsolete in the sense that people are terrified of that idea. Do you believe it finds space in our world today? And why?
Well, I mean, I can say like it's the best thing that happened in my life. I'm a living example of it. It might not work for somebody else.
Yeah.
It worked for me. Couldn't have asked for better. I have the best life partner I could have asked for. I feel blessed to have Mira. And it wasn't my direct choice, so to say, where I found someone in, you know, one of those days I went somewhere and I found this girl and then we started talking and then, oh my God, it wasn't like that, and I've had those as well and they didn't work out, you know. And then I tried this one and it was great, because the graph is very different. The challenge with love is that the best is right in the beginning. And then you're always like, but here, interestingly, it grows with time, right? So I think the graph is different. And so in our case, I think, at least for me, I, I, I'm like, thank God this happened in my life. I don't think I could have done a better job myself. So sometimes, the universe sends you something, you just take it and just thank the universe. Like, thanks. So I thank my stars for having somebody like her in my life.
Yeah, I feel like, when you decide and when you choose to marry someone, at that time, you don't even know the real reasons why this is going to work out. You only discover those reasons about each other later, saying, hey, it's because you have this and I have this.
Yeah.
This is why it worked out. But we didn't even know these things about each
Yeah,
other.
I also feel that, like you have to look at it like if you look at it like, okay, uh, there are 70% of the things are amazing and 30% of the things are not working, right? You have to look at it completely.
Yeah.
And if I start focusing on the 30%, it'll feel like 100%. But if I focus on the 70%, that 30% will feel like 10%. I'll probably be able to manage it better. And by focusing on it, I don't mean like you don't acknowledge the problems. You have to deal with the problems while you learn to appreciate everything that is good. So the inherent energy within stays positive.
Yeah.
So I just feel like eventually in life you have to seek positivity as much as you can. And you have to feel positive as often as you can, even if somebody thinks you're crazy. It really works. Because I had really somebody who used to be very skeptical and very like analytical and very like sometimes worst case scenario type person.
Yes.
I was very much that person. I still am. My analytical side is very much like that. But then, I've realized that energy is everything actually. When you walk into a room, the energy that you carry, the energy you give me, I can choose to keep it or I can choose to deflect it depending on what works better for me. So hold on to the positivity that comes from wherever it comes from, whether it's from outside or from inside. And I've seen we live in a time, if you say 10 things to somebody, but 2 out of them are super positive, they will literally remember those 2 things.
Yeah.
Because human beings today need positivity. They're literally wanting somebody to give it to them so they can hold on to it because it actually makes you feel better. Even if you don't completely believe in it, but it makes you feel better. So I think energy is very important. You have to focus your energy on the good stuff. Yeah. Because good and bad is always there. So you have to work to make that marriage work.
Yes.
You cannot be looking for excuses for why it's not working. You have to focus on the reasons why it does work. And because I think it's easy today to kind of like say it's not working out and move on. Sometimes people take the easy route. So, you have to also ask yourself, you're also a part of the problem. No? Why is the other person always wrong? I have tried this. I have gone through phases where I have felt like I'm right and my partner is wrong. And then I just changed myself and everything got better. Because sometimes you can't change the other person. But if you change yourself, will it improve the situation? And I feel that the other person feels it sometimes much later. And then it's like you've got those, brownie points in your backpack to pull out and say you remember. And then when they realize it, then they feel it. And then it's almost like, it's like this fixed deposit that comes back with extra, So
What, according to you, are the ingredients for a good, solid relationship?
respect, number one. I think the time that we live in, I think what women want the most is to be respected. I think it's very important to respect your partner. I saw Javed Saad said this somewhere. It was so beautiful. I listened to him a lot, Javed Akhtar Saab, and he said that you cannot have a happy marriage. I don't know. I think I'll probably be saying it very badly because he speaks extremely well. But he was just saying कि एक इंसान की खुशी से marriage नहीं work कर सकते. दोनों लोग खुश होने चाहिए.
Hmm.
You know, so I think it's very important to see if I try and do everything that will make you happy now. You're a human being. You will have to reciprocate. Otherwise, you won't be able to live with yourself.
Yes.
Most of the times, at least most people are like that, you know. So if you look at it like that, that let me do what gives her comfort or let me do what gives him comfort, it'll be reciprocated. But if you're going to be like, do what gives me comfort, then that will also be reciprocated. The other person will say the same thing, do what gives me comfort. And then you're in a negative spiral, you know. So I've done both, you know, and for probably a longer period of the time, I've done the one saying,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I want, karo. And it just doesn't work, you know, it doesn't work. Because the other person says the same thing. And then what do you do?
Hmm. What would you want the next 20 years to look like?
Oh, I don't know. I'm fine with it. Look, like, yeah, I'm like, it's gonna be fun, you know. And let's not have this
PTA meeting, box office.
wherever life takes you. I want to live a full life, man. Like I want to feel fulfilled at the end of this life. I don't want to look back 20 years later and say, man, I was just so focused on one thing that I didn't live the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I think life is like it's big. And our definition of life is much smaller than life itself, you know. So don't define it. Like just let it come to you. Life will come to you and it'll take you through everything and it'll all make sense eventually. You know what I mean? It has to.
I'm sure it will. Shai, thank you so much for speaking with me. Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Absolute pleasure.